Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free German ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. Hallo, ich heiße Laura, sehr erfreut. Hi, I'm Laura, nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic German expressions. It's super easy and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to introduce ourselves in German. We'll start speaking right away, but first, it's important to clarify that in German there is a difference between the formal and the informal language. Let's first see how German people introduce themselves in an informal situation. Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. Hi, I'm Laura. Nice to meet you. Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. Start by saying Hallo, ich heiße, then say your name. Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Finally say schön, dich kennenzulernen. Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. And now, let's see the same sentence in formal speech. Guten Tag, ich heiße Laura Meyer. Schön, Sie kennenzulernen. Good day, I'm Laura Meyer. Nice to meet you. Guten Tag, ich heiße Laura Meyer. Schön, Sie kennenzulernen. So, what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these expressions together. Hallo has been substituted with the formal greeting Guten Tag, German for good day. Ich heiße Laura has not been changed. Ich heiße simply means I am. However, during a formal self-introduction, we also say our last name. So I said Laura Meyer. Here, you would say your full name. Finally, pay attention to the ending. We went from dich kennenzulernen to Sie kennenzulernen. What is changing is the German word for you. In a formal sentence, we use the more polite word Sie. One more time. The informal way to introduce yourself in German is Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Schön, dich kennenzulernen. The formal way to introduce yourself is Guten Tag, ich heiße Laura Meyer. Schön, Sie kennenzulernen. Now it's time for Laura's insights. When you introduce yourself, it's a good habit to shake hands. If you're not sure whether to use schön, dich kennenzulernen or schön, Sie kennenzulernen, just say simply sehr erfreut, as I said at the beginning of this lesson. If you use the correct sentence with German people, they're definitely going to be impressed. That's it for this lesson. Do you know how we say thank you in German? We learn how to say this and many other words in the next lesson. Bis bald zur nächsten Lektion. See you then. Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in German. Today, we are going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. Fertig? Are you ready? Los, so let's start. There are several ways to thank someone. Let's start with the easiest. It's just one word, danke. Danke. Danke means thank you. When saying thank you very much, you just need to add sehr. Danke, sehr. Sehr means a lot. So danke sehr is like saying thank you very much. During the last lesson, we discussed the informal and the formal way of speaking German. Danke is the casual way to thank someone. If you want to be more formal, there is another phrase you should use. Ich danke Ihnen. Ich danke Ihnen. Let's break this phrase down. Ich is I, and danke means thanks. Ihnen is a formal word for you in the dative case. Notice that we don't use Sie as in the last lesson. We will discuss German pronouns in more depth in a later lesson. The full sentence once again. Ich danke Ihnen. How do you answer? It's easy. Here are two different ways to do it. The first is bitte schön. Bitte schön. Bitte schön can be used with just about anybody. The other way to say you're welcome is the expression gern geschehen. Gern geschehen. Literally, this phrase means I liked it to happen or happened with pleasure, but it has become a common and polite way to respond to someone thanking you. So when someone says danke to us, we can simply reply with bitte schön or gern geschehen. Now it's time for Laura's insights. If you're not sure about whether to use danke or ich danke Ihnen, keeping it simple is always your safest bet. You don't have to worry about formal or informal situations. Danke can be used with just about anyone, anywhere, and at any time. Do you know what Auf Wiedersehen means? In our next lesson, we'll learn this and other greetings in German. Danke und bis zur nächsten Lektion! Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned how to be grateful to people by saying Danke. In this lesson, we learned some of the most common greetings used in Germany. Fertig? Are you ready? Los! So let's start. The most used informal greeting is Hallo. Hallo. Hallo means hi or hello. We should only use this greeting with friends or relatives. The most used formal greetings will change depending on the time of day. Let's start with Guten Tag. Guten Tag. Literally, Guten Tag means good day. As a rule of thumb, we can use Guten Tag only during the daytime, from late morning until early evening. In the morning we say Guten Morgen, good morning. Guten Morgen. During the evening we say Guten Abend. Guten Abend. Tag, Morgen and Abend is German for day, morning and evening, respectively. Easy, right? What should you say when you leave? German people usually say Auf Wiedersehen when leaving in a formal situation. Auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen means goodbye. If we say goodbye to friends or our relatives, we use the informal word Tschüss. Tschüss. Now you can greet people in many different ways in German. Let's review them all again. First, the greetings. Informally, we simply say Hallo. Formally, use Guten Morgen in the morning, Guten Tag in the afternoon, and Guten Abend in the evening. When leaving in a formal situation, we say Auf Wiedersehen. And in an informal situation, it's Tschüss. It's easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Laura's insights. Due to a huge variety of dialects in Germany, you might hear many different greeting phrases depending on the area. In Austria and in the Catholic southern part of Germany, they even say Grüß Gott, which means greetings to God. In the past, people from the north could barely talk to people from the south, since they spoke very different languages. But nowadays, if you use these common phrases, then everyone will understand you, I'm sure. During the next lesson, we'll learn the meaning of the phrase Sprechen Sie Englisch? Do you already know it? We'll be waiting to talk about it with you in our next Deutsch in 3 Minuten lesson. Tschüss! Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in German. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we are going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in German, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if their answer is no. Here's the informal way to say it. Sprichst du Englisch? Sprichst du Englisch? In German, verbs change depending on the pronoun that is used. Please notice the word du in the middle of the sentence. Remember that this is the informal way to say you. The first word is sprichst, which means to speak. Because it is referring to du, it is conjugated to du sprichst. If you ask a question in German, you change the du sprichst to the interrogative form sprichst du, and you probably recognize English to be English. Sprichst du Englisch? To learn how to properly conjugate verbs like sprechen, please look at our Absolute Beginner series on GermanPod101.com. You can find very detailed grammar lessons and resources there. We are now going to make the sentence formal. First, we need to use the formal version of you, which is Sie. If we change the word for you, we will conjugate the verb differently. It becomes sprechen instead of sprichst, like in the informal version. Everything else stays the same. Sprechen Sie Englisch? Sprechen Sie Englisch? Adding entschuldigen Sie, excuse me, the sentence becomes even more polite. Entschuldigen Sie, sprechen Sie Englisch? Entschuldigen Sie, sprechen Sie Englisch? The responses you will receive could be one of these three. Ja, yes. Ja. Ein bisschen. A little. Ein bisschen. Nein, ich spreche nicht Englisch. No, I don't speak English. Nein, ich spreche nicht Englisch. Since this last one is a negative statement, we need to say nicht after the verb sprechen. Notice also that the verb spreche is slightly different than sprechen. Remember, the verb changes depending on the pronoun used. We are now talking about ich, German for I. Thus, I do not speak is ich spreche nicht. Now it's time for Laura's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. German people study other European languages at school, so maybe you will get lucky. Just substitute English with Italienisch for Italian, Russisch for Russian, Spanish for Spanish, Französisch for French. In this lesson, we mentioned the expression entschuldigen Sie. But did you know that this could also be used as an apology? In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in German. It's never too late to show your good manners with German people. I'll see you in our next Deutsch in 3 Minuten lesson. Bis bald! Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase Entschuldigen Sie, sprechen Sie Englisch? Excuse me, do you speak English? we mentioned the word entschuldigen Sie, which means excuse me in formal German. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use entschuldigen Sie and other words when apologizing in German. We should use entschuldigen Sie in formal situations, such as when we are ordering something in bars or restaurants. For example, entschuldigen Sie, einen Kaffee bitte. Excuse me, a coffee please. We can also use it when asking a question. Entschuldigen Sie, wo ist der Ausgang? Excuse me, where's the exit please? Sometimes we also hear people say bitte, which means the same thing when you want to draw somebody's attention. We use this phrase if we want to be polite. Bitte. The informal way to say excuse me is entschuldige. Entschuldige. Just like entschuldigen Sie, we can use entschuldige when asking a question or when apologizing. We can also use the word Entschuldigung if you are not sure whether to use the formal or informal way. All of these phrases can be used for either excuse me or I'm sorry. But if you really want to apologize for something, it might be better to use a different phrase. That phrase is es tut mir leid. It means I'm sorry and can be used in both formal and informal situations. Es tut mir leid. First, we have es or it. Next, we have the German word for to do, conjugated for the pronoun es, tut. The word mir is German for me. Finally, we have leid, literally meaning sorrow. Es tut mir leid. Now it's time for Laura's insights. Please remember that in Germany, if you accidentally bump into someone, we don't say I'm sorry, es tut mir leid. Instead, we say entschuldigen Sie, entschuldige or Entschuldigung. Are you able to count in German? In the next lesson, we will learn the numbers in German from 1 to 10. I'll be waiting for you in our next Deutsch in 3 Minuten lesson. Bis bald zur nächsten Lektion! Hallo, ich bin Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in German, including Entschuldigung and es tut mir leid. In this lesson, we are going to learn numbers in German. Yes, numbers, Zahlen, from 1 to 10. And you are going to learn them in only 3 minutes, 3 Minuten. Are you ready? Let's start. Eins, eins. Zwei, zwei. Drei, drei. Vier, vier. Fünf, fünf. Sechs, sechs. Sieben, sieben. Acht, acht. Neun, neun. 10, 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. Eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Great job! Do you know what comes before eins? Right, it's null. Null. You don't have any more excuses. You can now give your friends your cell phone number in German. Let's try together. We'll use the phrase meine Nummer ist, which means my number is. Meine Nummer ist. Meine Nummer ist 030 4122 5968. Can you read it by yourself? 030 4122 5968. Perfect. Now it's time for Laura's insights. When you go to the office or department store in Germany, you sometimes have to stand in a line with a number. When it's your turn to check out, they scream Nummer 1, Nummer 10, and so on. Learn your numbers well so you can be ready. Do you know the German word for 100? It's actually very similar to the English word. In the next lesson, we are going to learn the numbers from 11 to 100 in German. Your task now is to practice the numbers we studied in this lesson, from 1 to 10. Bis bald! Hallo, ich bin Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson, we learned the numbers from 1 to 10. Have you forgotten? Here I tell you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now let's continue from 11. 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19. And finally we have 20, 20. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. These numbers may seem hard to remember, but you really just have to memorize 11, 12, 16, 17 and 20. For 13, 14, 15, 18 and 19, you just have to add 10 or 10. Let's not stop at 20. Counting from 10 to 100 is super easy. Now I'll give you the tens. 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80, 80, 90, 90, 100, 100. While you have to memorize a few of these numbers, there are a couple of tricks that will make memorizing them incredibly easy. In order to build 40, 40, you just add 10, sich to 4, 4, and you get 40. The same goes for 50, 80 and 90. Let's have a look at the pronunciation. If G comes last in the word, it makes a ch sound. So you would say 40 instead of 40. 40. You probably recognize the dots on A, O and U. Ä, Ö, Ü. For example, 5, 5. These are called Umlaute. Ä is being pronounced like the I in elder. Ö comes close to the O in worry. And Ü could be imagined as something between U and I. Ä, Ö, Ü. The last thing to learn today is how to form compound numbers above 20. This is also super easy. Take the tens and simply add the numbers you learned in the previous lesson. Let's try it out. How would you say 56 in German? Let's take it step by step. 50 is 50. 6 is 6. The smaller number comes first and then add and in German. 56. 56. 56. It's done. Isn't that easy? Let's make another number. For instance, 98. Take 8, add and then 90. 90. 98. 98. Now it's time for Laura's insights. If you're talking about decades in German, like the 80s or the 20s, you just have to add er after the actual number. So you would say 80er or 20er. Here you pronounce G as a G and not as a h, since it doesn't come at the end of the word. Now you can talk about the exciting 80s or golden 20s with your friends. After only 2 lessons, you're now able to count to 100 in German. In the next lesson, we are going to put your number knowledge to use. Do you have all the skills you need to go shopping in Germany? If not, I'll be waiting for you in our next Deutsch in 3 Minuten lesson. Bis bald! Hallo, ich heiße Laura. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. Welcome to GermanPod101.com's Deutsch in 3 Minuten, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn German. In the last lesson we learned how to count in German. I hope you spend some time practicing the numbers, because they will come in handy today. We're going to learn how to go shopping in Germany. Before we go, you need to know how to say how much is it? Wie viel kostet das? Wie viel kostet das? Are you ready to go shopping in Germany? Let's go! You see something you like and want to ask the shop clerk how much it costs. The first thing to say to the shop clerk is Entschuldigung. Do you remember what that means? Excuse me. Entschuldigung. Wie viel kostet das? Entschuldigung. Wie viel kostet das? If we want to be more specific when asking how much is this and refer to a certain type of object, we first need to drop the word das. Next, we need to know if the object is a masculine, feminine or neuter object. If it's masculine, add diese when referring to it, or diese for a feminine object and dieses for a neuter one. And then say the noun. For example, hat is a masculine noun. Der Hut. Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet dieser Hut? Excuse me, how much is this hat? Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet dieser Hut? And pants is a feminine noun. Die Hose. Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet diese Hose? Excuse me, how much is this pair of pants? Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet diese Hose? Finally, book is a neuter noun. Das Buch. So you would say, Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet dieses Buch? Excuse me, how much is this book? Entschuldigung, wie viel kostet dieses Buch? At this point, the shop clerk can answer by saying, das kostet, das macht, or das sind. And then the number, followed by euro. For example, das kostet 39 Euro. Das macht 39 Euro. Or, das sind 39 Euro. What number is 39? I'm not telling you. Okay, it's 39. It costs 39 euros. Now it's time for Laura's insights. A quicker way to ask how much is wie viel. Wie viel. which literally means how much. When you ask for a beer at the counter of a bar, you can ask the cashier, ein Bier ist wie viel bitte? How much is one beer, please? At this point, can you count euros in German? We're going to learn how to do this and much more in the next lesson. I'll be waiting for you in our next Deutsch in 3 Minuten lesson. Bis bald!
Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the difference between Entschuldigung, entschuldigen Sie, and entschuldige? Let's start from the beginning. The verb entschuldigen can be literally translated as to take away the guilt, with die Schuld meaning the guilt. This means you're asking the other person to free you from feeling guilty for whatever you're apologizing for. Both Entschuldigung and entschuldigen Sie, which are formal, and entschuldige, which is informal, are used to apologize to someone. Entschuldigen Sie und entschuldige are the imperative of entschuldigen, which means to excuse, and Entschuldigung means apology. While both expressions can often be used interchangeably, a conversation between a parent and their child might go like this. Entschuldige dich, apologize, to which the child will reply Entschuldigung, meaning apology, or more naturally in English, sorry. Entschuldigung can often stand on its own as an apology, but entschuldigen Sie or entschuldige often need another sentence to explain what you're apologizing for, such as entschuldigen Sie, dass ich zu spät war, which means excuse me being late, or entschuldigen Sie die Störung, meaning excuse the disruption. Entschuldigen Sie is formal, so this would be used at work, for example when a colleague disrupts a meeting or, very politely, simply before asking a colleague a question. Another common phrase is Entschuldigung, das wollte ich nicht, meaning apologies, I didn't want that to happen. This can be used in many situations, and the das wollte ich nicht implies that whatever you did was an accident. This phrase can be used for anything from apologizing for dropping a plate at home to apologizing to your boss for breaking your computer at work. It's usually used when your mistake was noticed by another person and that person makes you aware of what you did. Another example is ist entschuldigt, which directly translates as he's excused. This is commonly only at school when parents write a note for their children when they are sick. Their absence is then called an entschuldigt. In casual situations, for example, if a friend is a few minutes late, many people would just shorten this phrase by saying Entschuldigung. For example, Entschuldigung, ich stand im Stau, which means, sorry, I was caught in traffic. Increasingly, people also say just sorry in very casual or friendly situations. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the difference between wohnen and leben? Wohnen and leben can both be translated as to live and are often used interchangeably in German. For example, you could say ich wohne in Deutschland or ich lebe in Deutschland, and both would mean I live in Germany. However, wohnen is only used when talking about your current living situation and might be closest to the English verb to reside. For example, ich wohne in einer Wohnung in einer Wohngegend means I live in an apartment in a residential area. Wohnen and Wohnung, which means apartment, have the same origin. The verb leben can be used to express this too, but is also used in the more literal sense, like lebt, which means he's alive. Let's do some examples so you can see how to use wohnen and leben correctly. In this sentence, ich wohne in Berlin, which means I live or reside in Berlin, wohnen is more commonly used than leben because it's talking about your address. However, both verbs are possible. The sentence, meine Katze ist sehr alt, aber sie lebt noch, which means my cat is very old but she's still alive, uses the word leben because it's talking about the physical state of your cat. Here is a sentence that uses both leben and wohnen. Ich habe ein Jahr im Ausland gelebt und in einer WG gewohnt. This means I lived abroad for a year and resided in a share house. When referring to an experience such as living abroad, leben is commonly used because it usually implies the experience of living rather than just where your address would be in that foreign country. However, when discussing the actual living situation, we used wohnen to talk about the share house, which in German is a WG or Wohngemeinschaft. When in doubt, the verb leben is a safe bet, as it always fits whenever you want to express to live. Wohnen, however, can only be used when expressing living in the sense of residing. It's more commonly used than the English verb to reside, though. Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what is schon in German and how do I use it? Schon literally means yet or already, such as hast du schon gegessen? Meaning have you eaten yet? Or es ist schon spät. It's already late. It's a really common German expression. Idiomatically, it's often used to make a statement friendlier or add emphasis. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use schon correctly. A sample sentence would be es ist schon okay, which simply means it's okay. Like you would say if you were forgiving someone who has offended you. It would be possible to use the sentence es ist okay, but this might seem a bit short and distant. You can think of it as saying, it's okay, it has already been forgiven and forgotten. Another example is schon gut, which literally translates to already good, it's okay, or apology accepted. This can be used as a response to someone apologizing for a minor mistake. For example, schon gut, mach dir keine Sorgen, which means it's okay, don't worry. If you're still upset about the situation, you can use the more curt schon gut, which applies, okay, let's not talk about it anymore and move on. You can also use this phrase, schon besser, which literally means already better. You may hear this, for example, if you receive feedback on something like a project or a report, make changes, and then present your changes to your teacher or boss. In this case, they might say, schon besser. This can come across in different ways depending on how it's said. A slow curt schon besser, emphasizing the schon, can come across as better but not good enough. But a friendly oh, das ist schon viel besser sounds much more uplifting and positive and can translate as oh, this is already much better. If you want to step up your German game a little with your friends, you can use the phrase Die Sache ist schon gegessen, which literally means the thing has already been eaten. It's an idiom that actually means a negative incident has already been forgotten. Try using it the next time one of your German friends apologizes for something. One last insider hint is be careful not to confuse schon with schön, with an umlaut over the O. That means beautiful. Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what's the difference between nein, nicht, and kein? Nein means no, and is used in the same way as the English no, such as nein danke, no thank you, or wohnst du in Berlin? Nein, ich wohne in Hamburg. Do you live in Berlin? No, I live in Hamburg. Nicht means not, and is used to make a sentence negative. Ich wohne nicht in Berlin. Ich auch nicht mean I don't live in Berlin, me neither, respectively. Kein is also used to make a sentence negative. However, it's only used before nouns with an indefinite article, such as or an in English, or no article at all. In these cases, kein replaces the need for nicht. For example, ich habe einen Hund. Ich habe keinen Hund, which means I have a dog and I don't have a dog, respectively. The second sentence literally means I have a dog. Let's do some more examples so you can learn how to use nein, nicht, and kein more effectively. Nein on its own is often considered rude, so people add danke in order to make the sentence nein danke, which means no thank you. For example, nein danke, ich habe schon gegessen, meaning no thank you, I have already eaten. If someone asks you if you ever have been somewhere, such as warst du schon mal in Rom? Have you ever been to Rome before? Simply saying the word nein might signal to the person you're talking to that the conversation has ended. So it may be better to say nein, noch nicht, which literally means no, never, so far. With the word nicht, a common expression is noch nicht, which means not yet. It's often the answer to a question containing the word schon, which means already or yet. For example, hast du den Film schon gesehen? Noch nicht. Have you seen the movie yet? Not yet. However, it can also be used to show you're planning on doing something. For example, warst du heute einkaufen? Noch nicht, aber ich gehe gleich. Which means, have you gone shopping today? Not yet, but I will go soon. An example with kein would be, ich habe keine Lust, which is a common expression meaning, I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. It's often used to complain about having to go to work, school, or a similar commitment, such as in, ich habe wirklich keine Lust auf Arbeiten heute, which means, I really don't feel like working today. It would be considered rude to use it as a direct reply to someone asking if you want to do something. In that case, it would be better to say, ich fühle mich nicht nach Arbeiten heute, which also means, I don't feel like working today, but implies that it's because you don't feel well. If you feel like you've got it and really want to challenge yourself, you can use all three in the same sentence with this phrase. Nein, ich kann nicht, ich habe keine Zeit, which means, no, I can't, I don't have time. Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the difference between lowercase z and capital Z? Z with a capital S means you in the plural, and Z with a lowercase s means she, singular, and they, plural. The German language has a formal and an informal way of addressing people. The formal address is used when speaking with adults excluding family and friends, and is used in everyday life. It's often used with your colleagues at work and always in business situations, such as between a customer and a sales clerk. The informal address is used for children and young teenagers up to the age of 16. Let's do some examples so that you can learn how to use capital Z and lowercase z correctly. In this sentence, sie geht jeden Tag einkaufen, which means she goes shopping every day. Sie is capitalized, therefore it means she. It's also at the beginning of the sentence. The third person singular geht is from the verb gehen, which means to go, so there is no confusion that the proper address is she. Now take the sentence, sie gehen oft zusammen in die Stadt, meaning they often go into town together. Here, sie is only capitalized because it's at the beginning of the sentence and means they. As this is a statement, not a question, it's clear that it means they, despite using the same conjugation gehen as the formal sie. Another example is, gehen Sie heute früher nach Hause? Which means, are you going home earlier today? In this case, the sie is the formal you and is used to ask a person a question. Here, the listener has to pay attention to the context. If someone was pointing at a group of people leaving the office and said, gehen Sie heute früher nach Hause? It would mean, are they going home earlier today? But if they're looking straight at you, you know they're asking about you. It could also be used in a statement. If your boss sees that you look sick, he or she might say, gehen Sie heute früher nach Hause, meaning go home earlier today. An interesting fact is that when two people, excluding two young people in a social setting like school, university, a party, meet, the younger person has to wait for the older person to suggest using the informal du instead of the formal sie. If you're feeling confident about the differences between sie and sie, try this tongue twister. Sind Sie sicher, dass sie begleiten soll? That means, are you sure that she's supposed to accompany you? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. See you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what are the differences between du, dich, sie, and ihnen? Lowercase du means you informally, and dich means yourself or you as the direct object. Capital Z means you formally, and ihnen is you as the formal indirect object. Let's go over du and sie first. Du is used to address children and teenagers up to the age of 16, as well as family and friends. Sie is used to address adults you don't know well, in addition to teachers, bosses, colleagues, and everybody you come in contact with as part of a business transaction. Let's do some examples so you understand the differences between du, dich, sie, and ihnen more easily. The expression freust du dich auf den Urlaub, which means are you looking forward to the vacation, comes from the verb sich freuen, meaning to be glad or to be happy. It's a reflexive verb and the pronoun sich changes according to the subject. For example, ich freue mich, which means I am happy or I am glad. Du freust dich would be you're happy, and freut sich would be he's happy. Freust du dich auf den Urlaub? Is a common question, especially around school holidays. Teachers might ask this to the children in their class, or friends might ask each other if they've booked a vacation somewhere. Another sample sentence is, geht es Ihnen gut? Which means, are you well? This is used to address someone formally and ask how they feel. It's not to be confused with a standard greeting, wie geht es Ihnen? Meaning, how are you? Geht es Ihnen gut would be used if you noticed someone looks like they're not feeling well or might be in trouble. A final example is Gehen Sie, wenn es Ihnen nicht passt, which literally means if you're not okay with it, leave. This sentence uses both Sie and Ihnen. Gehen Sie is the formal imperative leave, and jemanden nicht passen, not to fit someone, is a common expression used to describe a piece of clothing that doesn't work on someone. For example, das Kleid passt mir nicht. The dress doesn't fit me. It's also used in non-ideal situations such as morgen passt mir nicht, meaning tomorrow is not good for me. There are two common phrases using du and sie and dich and ihnen respectively. The first one is was machst du, informally, or was machen Sie, formally, both meaning what are you doing? The other phrase is wie geht es dir, informally, and wie geht es Ihnen, formally, both meaning how are you? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what are the different versions of ein and eine, and how do I use them? Ein and eine are indefinite articles like a and an in English. You can also use these articles for the word one, but only when you're counting. For example, ein Hund, one dog, or eine Katze, one cat. They shouldn't be confused with the actual number for one, which is eins. Ein is used for masculine and neuter nouns. One man is masculine, so it would be ein Mann, while one house is neuter, so it would be ein Haus. Eine is used for feminine nouns. Eine Frau, for example, would be one woman. The indefinite article changes according to the case of the noun. There are four cases: nominative, accusative, genitive, and dative. If the noun is in the nominative case, the articles are ein in masculine and neuter and eine in feminine. For example, es ist ein schönes Haus, meaning it's a nice house. If the noun is in the accusative case, it's einen masculine, eine feminine, and ein neuter. An example would be, ich rufe einen Kollegen an. I am calling a male colleague. If the noun is in the genitive case, the articles change to eines, masculine neuter, and einer, feminine. For example, es ist das Auto einer Freundin, meaning it's the car of a female friend. If the noun is in the dative case, the articles change to einem, masculine neuter, and einer, feminine. For example, das Land gehört einem Unternehmen, meaning the land belongs to a neuter company. The accusative case is the only case in which the masculine and the neuter indefinite articles are different from each other. For feminine indefinite articles, eine in nominative and accusative or einer in genitive and dative are the only options. If you feel like you have a handle on indefinite articles, try this fun sentence. Ich habe einen Hund, eine Katze und ein Meerschweinchen, which means I have a dog, a cat, and a guinea pig. Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, why does German use two different words for joke? Both Witz and Scherz can be translated as joke. Witz is used in the actual sense of telling a joke, and a Scherz can be a prank or an ironic comment. A good insider tip is to know the phrase war ein Scherz. It roughly translates to it was a joke, and is often added after saying something that could potentially offend someone. It's used to either clarify that you're not being serious or even to retract the statement. So if you hear this, don't take what the person said to heart. Let's do some examples so you can use Witz and Scherz correctly. The phrase sehr witzig means very funny. It's often used ironically when you don't find something funny or when you're trying to tease someone. Another example would be Du bist heute aber zu Scherzen aufgelegt. This means you're in a silly mood today. It literally translates to you've been set up to crack jokes today. The aber meaning but is used for emphasis. An additional good phrase to know is Du machst Witze. This means are you kidding? Accompanied by a facial expression of disbelief. This might be used when hearing surprising or even shocking news, though nothing too serious, like death or illness from a friend. An interesting fact is that there are two colloquial verbs based on Witz and Scherz. The first is witzeln, meaning to quip, and the second is scherzen, meaning to joke. Both are used when people are being silly and joking around a lot. If you feel like you're getting the hang of German humor, you can try this fun phrase. Hast du einen Clown gefrühstückt? This literally means, have you eaten a clown for breakfast? It's an ironic expression that actually means, well, aren't you being funny or silly today? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what does ja mean in German and how do I use it? The German language uses a lot of little words in sentences to slightly change the tone. It could be to add emphasis to make a statement less direct or less harsh, to comfort someone, to acknowledge a fact, to express surprise, and more. One of these words is ja. Ja normally means yes. However, when used in the middle of a sentence, the meaning is different. For example, in the sentence, Du sprichst ja auch Deutsch, meaning, you speak German too. It cannot be translated as yes. There is no direct translation. Here, it's just emphasizing that the person you're speaking to can also speak German. Break it down so you can understand how to use ja more easily. Let's use this scenario as an example. A German and a non-German person are talking about an exam they took in German. The German person says, Ich fand den Test einfach, which means, I found the exam easy. The non-German person might respond with, Du sprichst ja auch Deutsch, meaning, well, of course you would, since you can speak German. Let's do another example, with Ich gehe ja schon, meaning, I'm already going. You would use the sentence if someone has repeatedly asked you to do something. The ja refers to the fact that you know you have been asked a number of times and can be translated as, okay, I'm going, stop nagging me. Ja can also be used in the following scenario. Ist ja auch so, meaning, well, that's how it is. This time, the ja makes the sentence sound a bit defiant. For example, if someone says, Du beschwerst dich oft über Staus auf der Autobahn, meaning, you often complain about traffic jams on the highway. The other person might, in a slightly annoyed tone, reply with, Ist ja auch so. Well, that's just how it is. Let's do one last example. Imagine you're feeling hungry, and you remember there are some cookies in the kitchen. However, when you open the jar, there are none left. You might say, Nanu, die Kekse sind ja schon alle, meaning, oh, the cookies are all gone already. In this case, ja adds an element of surprise. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what is the difference between Urlaub and Ferien? Ferien and Urlaub can both be translated as vacation or holiday. Urlaub originally comes from the verb erlauben, or to allow, meaning you were asking to be allowed to leave work. Ferien is used to refer to a period of free time with no school or work. These vacations have been set by the government, for example, summer holidays, Christmas holidays, Easter holidays, and so on. Urlaub is used to refer to time an individual takes off from work, which is not set by the country or state. It's also used to refer to an actual vacation. For example, a father and mother might apply for Urlaub, or time off work, so that they can go in den Urlaub, on vacation, with their children. Let's do some examples so you can see how to use Ferien and Urlaub correctly. In den Sommerferien hat die Schule zu. For example, means the school is closed during the summer holidays. Ferien is used as Sommerferien, which means summer holidays. This is a fixed period of 6 weeks off set by the government for each of the 16 states. Let's do another example. Ich bin nächste Woche nicht im Büro, weil ich Urlaub habe, which means I won't be in the office next week because I have a week off. Here, Urlaub is used. It's a period of time of work that each individual employee can decide to take at different times. Let's do another example with Urlaub. Ich hatte einen tollen Urlaub in Südfrankreich means I had a great vacation in the south of France. In this case, Urlaub means a vacation that an individual took that is unrelated to the government-set holidays. An interesting distinction between Urlaub and Ferien is school children and university students have Ferien, but employees have Urlaub. However, in den Urlaub fahren, to go to vacation, is for everyone. Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what are some of the most common false friends in German? There are lots of words that look similar in English and German, but they don't always mean the same thing. It's pretty fitting that they're called false friends, because they can be deceptive. Here are some of the most common ones, so you can avoid any miscommunication the next time you speak German. Billionen in German means trillion, not billion, so be careful when you're reading financial information in the newspaper. For example, if you read, die Bürger müssen 30 Billionen Euro Steuern zahlen innerhalb eines Jahres. That literally means the citizens have to pay 30 trillion euros in taxes in a year. That's a big difference. The word billion in German is actually Milliarden. Just make sure not to confuse it with million. Next, Brand is fire, not brand. For example, if you hear the sentence, der Mann hat den Brand mit seiner Jacke gelöscht. He isn't talking about the brand of his coat. That actually means the man extinguished the fire with his coat. The word brand in German actually is Marke. If you're in a hurry, be careful not to use the word fast, which actually means almost. So for example, das ist fast alles doesn't mean it was done quickly. It actually means it's almost done. Fast in German is actually schnell. You should be really careful if you want to give someone a gift in German. This is because das Gift actually means the poison. So if you hear in a fairy tale that die Hexe gab das Gift, it actually means the witch gave the poison and not a nice present. That would be das Geschenk, the gift. If you're at the supermarket and overhear someone saying the word taste, it doesn't mean they're talking about eating. The word taste actually means to feel or to touch something. Like in this example. Taste mal die Pfirsiche, sicher zu gehen, dass sie reif sind. This means feel the peaches so you're sure that they're ripe. To taste in German is actually probieren. Let's do one more. If you hear someone say the word groß, it doesn't mean gross. It just means that something is big. For example, das Haus ist groß. The house is big. I hope that clears things up. Pretty interesting, right? Please leave any more questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what's the difference between ihn and ihm? Ihn and ihm both mean him in German. So how do you know which one to use? Ihn is used for direct objects. That means it answers the question what or whom. Ihm is used for indirect objects. That means it's used in response to questions like to whom or for what. Does that sound confusing? Don't worry, we'll do some examples. Now, there are two things you should know before we dive in. One, because ihn is a direct object, it's used in the accusative case. So it marks the object that's answering what or whom. For example, ich rufe ihn an. I'm calling him. Here, the him is receiving the action called and answering the question, who are you calling? Ihm is used in the dative case, which means it's supposed to mark the indirect object. For example, ich gebe ihm einen Stift, meaning I give him a pen. Here, ich answers the question, who did you give the pen to? Let's do some more examples so you can learn how to use ihn and ihm correctly. First, let's do an example with ihn. Our first sentence is, auch wenn wir ihn nicht mögen, laden wir ihn zur Party ein. This means even though we don't like him, we'll invite him to the party. Here we have the word ihn twice. That's because the object ihn, meaning him, is receiving two actions, dislike and invite, from the subject wir or we. Here, ihn would answer the questions, who do you dislike and who did you invite to the party? Next, let's do an example with ihm. Ich habe ihm ein Geschenk gegeben. This means I gave him a present. In this sentence, the ihm is receiving the present and answers the question. To whom did you give the present? Lastly, let's do an example with both ihm and ihn. Zeigen Sie ihm, dass Sie ihn lieben. Show him that you love him. Sounds romantic, right? Here, the ihm answers the question, to whom are you showing love? And the ihn answers the question, who do you love? How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time. Hi everybody, Anja here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common German questions. The question for this lesson is, what's the difference between kein or keine and nicht. Kein or keine and nicht are used to make negative sentences. So how do you know which one to use? Let's go over them together. Nicht is used in sentences with definite articles like the in English. For example, ich mag das Essen nicht. I don't like the food. Nicht is also placed before verbs in sentences such as ich kann nicht kochen, meaning I can't cook. Here the word nicht comes before the word kochen, meaning to cook. Kein and keine are used in sentences with indefinite articles like the English a or n, or when there is no article at all. For example, ich spreche kein Deutsch. I don't speak German. Let's do some examples so you can learn how to use kein, keine, and nicht correctly. Let's start with nicht. Ich kann das Buch nicht finden, das ich gestern gekauft hatte. I can't find the book I bought yesterday. In this sentence, we have das Buch. Das is the definite article the, so we need to use nicht. Now let's do an example with kein, keine. Ich kann keine Bücher mehr sehen. This expression literally means I can't see any books anymore, but is actually an idiom meaning I have had enough of studying. There is no article, so we need to use kein or keine. You can use this expression to talk about anything you're tired of doing. Another example would be, ich kann keine Nudeln mehr sehen. I can't see pasta anymore, which you may use if you've been eating the same meal every day for a week. Let's do one last example using both nicht and kein, keine. Ich würde nicht spazieren gehen, wenn ich keinen Hund hätte. I wouldn't go for a walk if I didn't have a dog. Here, nicht is used before the verb spazieren, meaning walk, and keinen, the conjugated form of kein, keine, in the male accusative case, is used in reference to the noun with the indefinite article Hund, meaning a dog. How was this lesson? Pretty interesting, right? Do you have any more questions? Leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal. Bye, see you next time.
Welcome to Can Do German by GermanPod101.com.
Hallo zusammen, ich bin Katrin Preußler. Hi everyone, I'm Katrin Preußler. In this lesson, you learn how to introduce yourself in German.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to Germany. Mark is having a casual conversation with Marvin Moss, a passenger sitting next to him. After a short exchange, Marvin introduces himself. I'm Marvin, and you?
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use informal German. Ready?
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
Ich heiße Mark.
Once more with the English translation.
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
I'm Marvin, and you?
Ich heiße Mark.
My name is Mark.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Marvin introduces himself? I'm Marvin, and you?
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
First is
Ich,
I.
ich, ich,
Next is
bin,
am, as in I am.
bin, bin, bin,
Is from the verb,
sein,
meaning to be.
sein,
Next is the name,
Marvin,
Marvin.
Marvin, Marvin.
Together it's
Ich bin Marvin.
I am Marvin, or I'm Marvin.
Ich bin Marvin.
Note, when introducing himself, Marvin uses only his given name. In Germany, this is considered an offer to use informal language. Next is
Und du?
meaning and you. First is
Und.
and.
Und. Und.
Next is
Du.
you, when using informal German.
Du. Du.
Together it's
Und du?
and you.
Und du?
Altogether it's
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
I'm Marvin, and you.
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
Now, let's take a closer look at Mark's response.
Do you remember how Mark says, "My name is Mark"?
Ich heiße Mark.
First is
Ich.
I.
Ich.
Next is
Heiße.
am called, as in I'm called.
Heiße. Heiße. Heiße.
Is from the verb
Heißen.
to be called.
Heißen.
Together it's
Ich heiße.
literally meaning I am called, but it translates as my name is.
Ich heiße.
After this is the name
Mark.
Mark.
Mark. Mark.
Altogether it's
Ich heiße Mark.
my name is Mark.
Ich heiße Mark.
Note, Mark replies with his given name, giving Marvin a signal that he agrees to use informal language. Altogether it's
Ich heiße Mark.
my name is Mark.
Ich heiße Mark.
The pattern is
Ich heiße Name.
my name is name.
Ich heiße Name.
To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your name. Note, use this pattern with your given name or your given name and surname. Imagine you're Karen Lee. In German,
Karen. Karen. Karen.
say, my name is Karen. Ready?
Ich heiße Karen.
My name is Karen.
Ich heiße Karen.
In German, there are both informal and formal ways of speaking. What you use depends on whom you're speaking with. Formal language is called
Siezen.
because you use the formal word for you, which is.
Sie.
This is usually used with strangers, or with people who are more senior than yourself. It's also common in business settings. Informal language is called
Duzen.
because you use the informal word for you, which is.
Du.
According to German etiquette, the older person should be the one to initiate the switch to informal language. In our example, Marvin and Mark are similar in age, so they use informal language to start. During an exchange of self-introductions, you may hear
Freut mich.
a short way to say, nice to meet you,
Freut mich.
is from the expression,
Es freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen.
literally meaning, it pleases me to become acquainted with you, but translates as, nice to meet you. Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Ich bin Marvin. Ich bin Marvin.
Ich heiße Mark. Ich heiße Mark.
Hallo. Ich heiße Karen. Hallo. Ich heiße Karen.
Freut mich. Ich bin Katrin. Freut mich. Ich bin Katrin.
Mein Name ist Finja Fischer. Mein Name ist Finja Fischer.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
She says,
Mein Name ist Finja Fischer.
My name is Finja Fischer.
Mein Name ist Finja Fischer.
This pattern uses the phrase,
Mein Name ist.
which literally means, my name is.
Mein Name ist.
First is
Mein.
my.
Mein. Mein.
After this is
Name.
name.
Name. Name.
Next is
Ist.
as in my name is.
Ist. Ist.
Note,
Ist.
is from the verb
Sein.
to be.
Sein.
Next is the name
Finja Fischer.
Finja Fischer.
Finja Fischer. Finja Fischer.
Altogether,
Mein Name ist Finja Fischer.
my name is Finja Fischer.
Mein Name ist Finja Fischer.
The pattern is
Mein Name ist Name.
my name is name. This pattern can be used with either a given name, surname, or full name. You should be aware of this pattern, but you won't need it for this lesson. Let's review the key vocabulary.
Hallo.
Hello,
Hallo. Hallo. Freut mich.
nice to meet you.
Freut mich. Freut mich. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the informal way to say you? Du. Du. And how to say and you? Und du? Und du? Do you remember the German pronunciation of Marvin's name? Marvin. Marvin. And how to say I? Ich. Ich. Do you remember how Marvin Mars says, I'm Marvin?
Ich bin Marvin.
Ich bin Marvin. Do you remember the German pronunciation of Mark's name? Mark. Mark. And do you remember how Mark Lee says, my name is Mark. Literally, I'm called Mark.
Ich heiße Mark.
Ich heiße Mark. Do you remember how to say nice to meet you? Freut mich. Freut mich.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Karen.
Karen.
Respond by saying, My name is Karen. Ready?
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
Ich heiße Karen.
Listen again and repeat.
Ich heiße Karen. Ich heiße Karen.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Finja.
Finja.
Include nice to meet you. Ready?
Ich bin Marvin. Und du?
Freut mich. Ich heiße Finja.
Listen again and repeat.
Freut mich. Ich heiße Finja. Freut mich. Ich heiße Finja.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Katrin.
Katrin.
Introduce yourself with the
Ich bin.
pattern. And then prompt your partner with, and you? Ready?
Ich bin Katrin. Und du?
Ich heiße Marvin.
Listen again and repeat.
Ich bin Katrin. Und du? Ich bin Katrin. Und du? This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try any time you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Well done! Now you know how to introduce yourself in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do German by GermanPod101.com.
Hallo zusammen, ich bin Katrin Preußler. Hi everyone, I'm Katrin Preußler. In this lesson, you'll learn how to tell someone where you're from in German.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to Germany. Marvin Maas, a passenger sitting next to him, asks, Where are you from?
Woher kommst du?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use informal German. Ready?
Woher kommst du?
Ich komme aus New York.
Once more with the English translation.
Woher kommst du?
Where are you from?
Ich komme aus New York.
I'm from New York.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Marvin Moss asks, Where are you from?
Woher kommst du?
First is
Woher?
meaning where from.
Woher? Woher?
Next is
Kommst.
come, as in you come from.
Kommst. Kommst. Kommst.
Is from the verb
Kommen.
meaning to come, as in to come from, in this context.
Kommen.
Last is
Du.
you.
Du. Du.
Note, in German,
Du.
is used when addressing someone in a casual conversation. Altogether,
Woher kommst du?
literally, where from come you? But it translates as, where are you from?
Woher kommst du?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later in this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Mark Lee says, I am from New York?
Ich komme aus New York.
First is
Ich.
I.
Ich. Ich.
Next is
Komme.
come, as in I come from.
Komme. Komme. Komme.
Is from the verb
Kommen.
to come.
Kommen.
Next is
Aus.
meaning from in this context.
Aus. Aus.
Last is the city,
New York.
New York.
New York. New York.
Altogether,
Ich komme aus New York.
this literally means I come from New York, but it translates as I'm from New York.
Ich komme aus New York.
The pattern is
Ich komme aus Location.
I'm from location.
Ich komme aus Location.
To use this pattern, you can simply replace the location placeholder with the name of your hometown. Note, this pattern requires a proper noun and works with the names of cities, villages, towns, and countries. Imagine you're from Sydney. In German,
Sydney. Sydney. Sydney.
say, I'm from Sydney. Ready?
Ich komme aus Sydney.
I'm from Sydney.
Ich komme aus Sydney.
Note on German language formality. Mark and Marvin are using informal language in this conversation. So Marvin asks,
Woher kommst du?
Where are you from? To make the question formal, replace
Kommst du?
with the
Kommen Sie?
therefore in a formal setting.
Woher kommen Sie?
Where are you from?
Woher kommen Sie?
Please be aware of this, as you will see it again later in the lesson. Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Ich komme aus New York. Ich komme aus New York.
Ich komme aus Kiel und du? Ich komme aus Kiel und du?
Ich komme aus Seattle. Ich komme aus Seattle.
Ich komme aus London. Und Sie? Ich komme aus London. Und Sie?
Ich komme aus Deutschland. Ich komme aus Deutschland.
Ich bin Australierin. Ich bin Australierin.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
Ich bin Australierin.
I'm Australian.
Ich bin Australierin.
First is
Ich.
I.
Ich.
Next is
Bin.
am, as in I am.
Bin. Bin. Bin.
Is from the verb
Sein.
meaning to be.
Sein.
Together it's
Ich bin.
I am.
Ich bin.
After this is
Australierin.
meaning Australian.
Australierin. Australierin.
Note
Australierin.
is feminine, as the speaker is female. This pattern is
Ich bin nationality.
I'm nationality. To use this pattern, simply replace the nationality placeholder with your nationality. Note, this pattern requires a noun, and its gender will depend on the gender of the speaker. Mia Martin uses a feminine noun
Australierin.
to identify herself.
Ich bin Australierin.
A male speaker from Australia would use the masculine noun
Australier. Ich bin Australier.
I'm Australian.
Ich bin Australier.
You can use this pattern to answer the question.
Woher kommst du?
You should be aware of this pattern, but you won't need it for this lesson. Let's review the new vocabulary.
Kiel.
Kiel,
Kiel. Kiel. Seattle.
Seattle,
Seattle. Seattle. London.
London,
London. London. Deutschland.
Germany,
Deutschland. Deutschland. Australier.
male Australian citizen.
Australier. Australier. Australierin.
Female Australian citizen.
Australierin. Australierin. Und du?
And you? Informal language.
Und du? Und sie?
And you? Formal language.
Und sie? Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say New York? New York. New York. And how to say from? Aus. Aus. Do you remember how to say I? Ich. Ich. Do you remember how Mark says, I'm from New York? Literally, I come from New York.
Ich komme aus New York.
Ich komme aus New York. Do you remember the informal way to say you? Du. Du. And how to say where from? Woher? Woher? And do you remember how Marvin Mask asks, where are you from?
Woher kommst du?
Woher kommst du? Do you remember how to say London? London. London. And how to say Seattle? Seattle. Seattle. Do you remember how to say Germany? Deutschland. Deutschland. And the formal way to say you? Sie. Sie. Do you remember the formal way to ask, where are you from? Woher kommen Sie? Woher kommen Sie? And the informal way to ask, and you? Und du? Und du?
Let's practice. Imagine you're Jack Jones from London. Respond to Marvin Moss's question. Ready?
Woher kommst du?
Ich komme aus London.
Listen again and repeat.
Ich komme aus London. Ich komme aus London.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Emma Eckert from Seattle. Respond and add the informal, and you? Ready?
Woher kommst du?
Ich komme aus Seattle und du?
Listen again and repeat.
Ich komme aus Seattle und du? Ich komme aus Seattle und du?
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Katrin Preußler from Germany. Ready?
Woher kommen Sie?
Ich komme aus Deutschland.
Listen again and repeat.
Ich komme aus Deutschland. Ich komme aus Deutschland. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try any time you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Now you know how to say where you're from in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to say where you're from in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can-Do German by GermanPod101.com.
Hallo zusammen, ich bin Katrin Preußler. Hi everyone, I'm Katrin Preußler. In this lesson, you'll learn how to talk about your occupation in German.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to Germany. He asks the passenger sitting next to him, Marvin Moss, "Are you a student?"
Bist du Student?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Marvin's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use informal German. Ready?
Bist du Student?
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
Once more with the English translation.
Bist du Student?
Are you a student?
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Mark asks, "Are you a student?"
Bist du Student?
First is
Bist,
are when using informal German.
bist, bist, bist,
Is from the verb
sein,
meaning to be.
sein,
Next is the informal personal pronoun
du,
you.
du, du,
Next is
Student,
student.
Student, Student.
In German, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Student,
Is masculine singular. Altogether,
bist du Student?
are you a student?
Bist du Student?
Note,
Bist du Student?
is the informal form of are you a student? To make the question formal, replace
Bist du?
with
Sind Sie?
which is the formal way of asking are you? Therefore, in a formal setting,
Sind Sie Student?
are you a student?
Sind Sie Student?
You should be aware of this, but you won't need it for this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Marvin says, "No, I'm not a student. I'm an investor"?
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
First is the expression,
Nein,
meaning no.
nein, Nein.
It answers Mark's yes or no question. Are you a student?
Bist du Student?
After this, Marvin specifies that he's not a student.
Ich bin kein Student.
I'm not a student.
Ich bin kein Student.
Let's start with the word
Student.
student.
Student. Student.
In German, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Student.
Is masculine and singular, a fact which will determine the form of other words in the sentence. Before
Student.
is
Kein.
a phrase meaning not a in this case.
Kein. Kein. Kein.
Is masculine and singular to agree with.
Student.
Together, it's
Kein Student.
literally not a student.
Kein Student.
Let's move to the start of the sentence.
Ich.
I.
Ich. Ich.
Next is
Bin.
am.
Bin. Bin. Bin.
Is from the verb
Sein.
meaning to be.
Sein.
Altogether,
Ich bin kein Student.
I'm not a student.
Ich bin kein Student.
Marvin then tells Mark his actual occupation.
Ich bin Investor.
I'm an investor.
Ich bin Investor.
First,
Ich.
I.
Ich.
Next is
Bin.
am.
Bin.
Next is
Investor.
investor.
Investor. Investor. Investor.
Is a masculine singular noun. Together,
Ich bin Investor.
literally, I am investor. But it translates as I'm an investor.
Ich bin Investor.
Altogether,
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
no, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
The pattern is
Nein, ich bin kein Occupation. Ich bin Actual Occupation.
no, I'm not occupation. I'm actual occupation.
Nein, ich bin kein Occupation. Ich bin Actual Occupation.
To use this pattern, simply replace the occupation and actual occupation placeholders with the occupations that are appropriate to the conversation. Note, this pattern requires nouns. Their gender will depend on the gender of the speaker. Imagine you're Emma Eckert, a student. The word for a female student is
Studentin. Studentin. Studentin.
Marvin Moss asks you if you're a teacher.
Lehrerin. 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 Lehrerin.
Is feminine singular. Therefore,
Keine.
is feminine singular to agree with.
Lehrerin.
Together,
Keine Lehrerin.
not a teacher.
Keine Lehrerin.
Say, no, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student. Ready?
Nein, ich bin keine Lehrerin. Ich bin Studentin.
No, I'm not a teacher. I'm a student.
Nein, ich bin keine Lehrerin. Ich bin Studentin.
In German, a general rule of thumb is occupation words that end in
In.
are feminine, while those that do not are masculine.
Lehrer. Lehrerin.
If the masculine form contains the word
Mann.
meaning man, It's usually replaced with the word
Frau,
meaning woman.
Bürokaufmann,
Office clerk, male.
Bürokauffrau,
Office clerk, female. However, some occupations may have two different words for one occupation depending on gender.
Krankenpfleger,
Nurse, male.
Krankenschwester,
Nurse, female. Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor. Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
Nein, ich bin keine Lehrerin. Ich bin Studentin. Nein, ich bin keine Lehrerin. Ich bin Studentin.
Nein, ich bin kein Lehrer. Ich bin Ingenieur. Nein, ich bin kein Lehrer. Ich bin Ingenieur.
Nein, ich bin keine Krankenschwester. Ich bin Ärztin. Nein, ich bin keine Krankenschwester. Ich bin Ärztin.
Ich bin keine Studentin. Ich bin Lehrerin. Ich bin keine Studentin. Ich bin Lehrerin.
Nein, ich bin Barista. Nein, ich bin Barista.
Did you notice how the last speaker omits part of the response?
Nein, ich bin Barista.
No, I'm a barista.
Nein, ich bin Barista.
When directly responding to someone's question, it's often possible to omit part of the response. Here, by simply answering
Nein,
no, there's no need to say,
ich bin keine Studentin.
I'm not a student. This pattern is,
Nein, ich bin actual occupation.
no, I'm actual occupation. Remember this pattern. You'll need it for the practice section. Let's review the new vocabulary. Student,
Student, Student, Studentin, Studentin,
teacher,
Lehrer, Lehrer, Lehrerin, Lehrerin,
engineer,
Ingenieur, Ingenieur, Ingenieurin, Ingenieurin,
nurse,
Krankenpfleger, Krankenpfleger, Krankenschwester, Krankenschwester,
doctor,
Arzt, Arzt, Ärztin, Ärztin, Barista,
barista,
Barista, Barista.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud, then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the word for a male investor? Investor. Investor. And how to say I as in I am? Ich. Ich. Do you remember how Marvin says, I'm an investor? Ich bin Investor. Ich bin Investor. Do you remember the word for a male student? Student. Student. Do you remember how Marvin says, I'm not a student? Ich bin kein Student. Ich bin kein Student. And how to say no? Nein. Nein. Do you remember how Marvin Mars says, no, I'm not a student. I'm an investor.
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor.
Nein, ich bin kein Student. Ich bin Investor. Do you remember how Mark Lee asks, are you a student?
Bist du Student?
Bist du Student? Do you remember the word for a female student? Studentin. Studentin. And how to say not a female student? Keine Studentin. Keine Studentin. And the word for a male teacher? Lehrer. Lehrer. Do you remember the word for a male engineer? Ingenieur. Ingenieur.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Mark Lee, and you're an engineer. Respond to Marvin's question. Ready?
Bist du Lehrer?
Nein, ich bin kein Lehrer. Ich bin Ingenieur.
Listen again and repeat.
Nein, ich bin kein Lehrer. Ich bin Ingenieur. Nein, ich bin kein Lehrer. Ich bin Ingenieur.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Katrin Preußler, and you're a teacher. Ready?
Bist du Studentin?
Nein, ich bin keine Studentin. Ich bin Lehrerin.
Listen again and repeat.
Nein, ich bin keine Studentin. Ich bin Lehrerin. Nein, ich bin keine Studentin. Ich bin Lehrerin.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Emma Eckert, and you're a student. Use the shortened variation pattern. Ready?
Bist du Lehrerin?
Nein, ich bin Studentin.
Listen again and repeat.
Nein, ich bin Studentin. Nein, ich bin Studentin.
This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again, so try any time you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Now you know how to talk about your occupation in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to talk about your occupation in German. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Fun and Easy German by GermanPod101.com. Do you know how to describe where you're from in German? You're about to learn this and much more, so keep watching. Hallo, ich bin Anja. Hi everyone, I'm Anja. In this lesson, you'll learn how to introduce yourself and more in German. No matter where you are in the world, you will always meet people who are interested in hearing your story. This is why learning how to ask and answer typical questions in German, like who are you and where you're from, is essential for conversing with German-speaking people. In this video, we'll teach you how to ask and answer the following questions and more in German. What's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? How's the family? What are you doing here? What do you like to do? What do you do for a living? And why are you learning German? Let's start with the question, who are you? In German, who are you is wer bist du? Wer bist du? Wer bist du? It's not a very common question, so you probably won't have to use it that much. Instead, you'll likely ask, wie heißt du? What's your name? Wie heißt du? Wie heißt du? To answer this question or to introduce yourself, you can say, for example, Ich heiße Anja. My name is Anja. Ich heiße Anja. Ich heiße Anja. And of course, you'll need to replace Anja with your own name. Similarly, you can also just say, Ich bin Anja. I'm Anja. Ich bin Anja. Ich bin Anja. And again, replace my name with your own. If you want to ask about someone's age, you can say, Wie alt bist du? How old are you? Wie alt bist du? Wie alt bist du? To answer this question, replace 26 or 26 with your age and say, Ich bin 26 Jahre alt. I'm 26 years old. Ich bin 26 Jahre alt. Ich bin 26 Jahre alt. A question that often follows the previous one is, where are you from? In German, to say, where are you from, you say, woher kommst du? Woher kommst du? Woher kommst du? There are two common ways to answer this. Ich komme aus Russland. I come from Russia. Ich komme aus Russland. Ich komme aus Russland. And ich bin Amerikaner. I'm an American. Ich bin Amerikaner. Ich bin Amerikaner. If your home country is already known, however, you may be asked a question like, welche Stadt in Spanien? Which city in Spain? Welche Stadt in Spanien? Welche Stadt in Spanien? You can then answer the question by stating the city you're from, followed by warst du schon da? Have you been there? For example, Bilbao, warst du schon da? Bilbao, have you been there? Bilbao, warst du schon da? Bilbao, warst du schon da? And that's where the conversation can get started. If you happen to move to a different city or country, it may be helpful to know the verb wohnen, meaning to live in. Wohnen. Wohnen. For example, if you live in Munich, you can say, jetzt wohne ich in München. I live in Munich now. Jetzt wohne ich in München. Jetzt wohne ich in München. Now we learn how to ask about the family. It's common in Germany for one of the first questions someone you've just met would ask you to be, hast du Geschwister? Do you have siblings? Hast du Geschwister? Hast du Geschwister? And a possible answer is, ja, ich habe einen Bruder und 2 Schwestern. Yes, I have a brother and 2 sisters. Ja, ich habe einen Bruder und 2 Schwestern. Ja, ich habe einen Bruder und 2 Schwestern. You may also want to talk about your family members as well. You can say, for example, meine Mutter ist Juristin. My mother is a lawyer. Meine Mutter ist Juristin. Meine Mutter ist Juristin. Or, meine Schwester wohnt in Ungarn. My sister lives in Hungary. Meine Schwester wohnt in Ungarn. Meine Schwester wohnt in Ungarn. Next, let's learn how to say, what are you doing here? When translated into German, what are you doing here is, was machst du hier? Was machst du hier? Was machst du hier? If you're a traveler, a good idea is to share the length of your stay in that city and ask for some recommendations. You can say, ich bin hier im Urlaub, which means, I'm here on vacation. Ich bin hier im Urlaub. Ich bin hier im Urlaub. And then say something like, ich bin nur für ein paar Tage hier. I'm just here for a couple of days. Ich bin nur für ein paar Tage hier. Ich bin nur für ein paar Tage hier. And remember, as you're being asked different things, you can always kindly return the question by saying, und du? And you? Und du? Und du? To then ask for recommendations, you can say, was soll ich hier sehen? What should I see here? Was soll ich hier sehen? Was soll ich hier sehen? As an alternative, you could mention the name of the city by asking something like, was soll ich in Hamburg sehen? What should I see in Hamburg? Was soll ich in Hamburg sehen? Was soll ich in Hamburg sehen? This is a great way to keep the conversation going and maybe even find out about some cool local spots. If you feel like sharing your profession in German, the following question will surely come in handy. Firstly, to ask if someone's a student, you can say, Bist du ein Student? Are you a student? Bist du ein Student? Bist du ein Student? Actually, if you look very young, Germans might ask you this as well. An important point to note, however, is that Student for men or Studentin for women in German is used exclusively for university students. Younger students are instead referred to as Schüler for boys and Schülerin for girls. But there are two more ways of asking if someone's a student. You could also say, Studierst du? Do you study? Studierst du? Studierst du? Or if the person seems to be younger, Gehst du noch zur Schule? Are you still attending school? Gehst du noch zur Schule? Gehst du noch zur Schule? To say, what do you do for a living in German, you say, was machst du beruflich? What do you do for a living? Was machst du beruflich? Was machst du beruflich? The answer to this question is simple, but there is something you need to be careful about. Normally, the sentence structure of German is the same as that of English. In particular, you're able to translate word for word. For example, ich bin ein Mann. I am a man. Ich bin ein Mann. Ich bin ein Mann. But when it comes to occupations, the article ein, eine, is dropped entirely. You would therefore say, for example, ich bin Schriftsteller. I am a writer. Ich bin Schriftsteller. Ich bin Schriftsteller. Since every job title in German has a male and female version, though women would instead say, ich bin Schriftstellerin. I am a writer. Ich bin Schriftstellerin. Ich bin Schriftstellerin. If you don't want to talk about your position, you can just say the name of your company. In German, we use the preposition bei for saying you work at so-and-so company. For example, ich arbeite bei Google. I work at Google. Ich arbeite bei Google. Ich arbeite bei Google. Another question you should know how to ask is, what do you like to do? Was machen Sie gerne? What do you like to do? Was machen Sie gerne? Was machen Sie gerne? If you like to study languages, you can then answer this question with, ich lerne gern Sprachen. I enjoy learning languages. Ich lerne gern Sprachen. Ich lerne gern Sprachen. Without a doubt, you'll get people asking about just how far you've taken that interest. They might ask, wie viele Sprachen sprichst du? How many languages do you speak? Wie viele Sprachen sprichst du? Wie viele Sprachen sprichst du? You can then answer this question with, for example, ich spreche Englisch, Polnisch, Arabisch und ein bisschen Deutsch. I speak English, Polish, Arabic, and a little German. Ich spreche Englisch, Polnisch, Arabisch und ein bisschen Deutsch. Ich spreche Englisch, Polnisch, Arabisch und ein bisschen Deutsch. You might also hear someone's language ability described with the verb beherrschen. Sie beherrscht 6 Sprachen fließend. She speaks 6 languages fluently. Sie beherrscht 6 Sprachen fließend. Sie beherrscht 6 Sprachen fließend. It's a pretty formal verb, and it implies a great mastery over the languages. If you have other interests aside from learning new languages, you could answer with, for example, Ich besuche Kunstmuseen gern. I like going to art museums. Ich besuche Kunstmuseen gern. Ich besuche Kunstmuseen gern. The sentence structure used here is an easy way to describe something that you like to do. Just say what you do, such as I go to museums, and then add the word gern to express that doing so is enjoyable. Another way to do this is by using the verb mögen, or to like, combined with a noun form of the activity. Here's an example. Ich mag Fotografie. I like photography. Ich mag Fotografie. Ich mag Fotografie. And lastly, something a native speaker will always ask you: Why are you learning German? Warum lernst du Deutsch? Why are you learning German? Warum lernst du Deutsch? Warum lernst du Deutsch? There are, of course, different reasons as to why you want to learn the German language. In this example, let's say you're learning because your family members were ethnically German or spoke the language at home. You could then say, for example, Meine Großmutter kam aus Österreich. My grandmother came from Austria. Meine Großmutter kam aus Österreich. Meine Großmutter kam aus Österreich. But what if you're really just interested in European history, or if you just enjoy traveling around? In that case, you can use a sentence like Ich mag die deutsche Kunstgeschichte sehr gern. I really like German art history. Ich mag die deutsche Kunstgeschichte sehr gern. Ich mag die deutsche Kunstgeschichte sehr gern. Or it could be that you have a fascination with German music or film. If you like Johannes Brahms, for example, you could say Ich finde die Musik von Brahms absolut atemberaubend. I find the music of Brahms absolutely breathtaking. Ich finde die Musik von Brahms absolut atemberaubend. Ich finde die Musik von Brahms absolut atemberaubend. All of these are valid answers. Many people may also want to know how long you've been studying German. The typical way of asking would be Wie lange lernst du schon Deutsch? How long have you been learning German? Wie lange lernst du schon Deutsch? Wie lange lernst du schon Deutsch? You could then answer with, for example, ein bisschen mehr als ein Jahr. A little more than a year. Ein bisschen mehr als ein Jahr. Ein bisschen mehr als ein Jahr. Although it might sound a bit rude in English, German speakers might then reply with Dafür sprichst du sehr gut. Then you already speak very well. Dafür sprichst du sehr gut. Dafür sprichst du sehr gut. Try to remember that this is just a compliment, and it is usually not seen as rude by Germans. And that's it. You now know enough to confidently introduce yourself in German. In this lesson, you learned the German translations and proper usage of the questions: what's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? How's the family? What are you doing here? What do you do for a living? What do you like to do? And why are you learning German? Want to learn German fast with PDF cheat sheets? You can get cheat sheets for all kinds of topics: travel, hobbies, love, and much more. And you learn all of the must-known words and phrases for each. Click the link in the lesson description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get them. That's it for today. See you next time. Bis bald wieder.
Hi, welcome to Introduction to German. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny. In this series, you learn everything you need to know to get started learning German.
That's right, and we're here to help guide you through your journey. In this lesson, you'll learn the reasons you should start learning a new language, why you should learn German in particular, and how to get started. There are countless reasons, but perhaps the biggest one of all is that it could actually change your life. Learning a new language unlocks new pathways that are off limits to you now. There are certain things that you simply cannot do without having the technical or cultural skills that come from learning a new language.
Like working or living in another country.
Knowing another language provides you with greater job opportunities. You have the freedom to move to another country halfway around the world and be able to earn a living, or even better yet, build a career from it, instead of just being stuck in one place. Language allows you to visit or live in places that you may never have even considered going, simply because that wasn't a possibility for you. Knowing another language simply gives you more options to choose from.
And learning a new language also helps you to be more open-minded and see the world from a new perspective.
Language and culture go hand in hand. The world is a big place, and by broadening your understanding of other cultures, it allows you to be more empathetic and understanding of the many different ways that people live their lives. With language, you're able to see and experience more, which helps you to grow as a person.
Learning a new language also improves your memory.
Several studies have consistently shown that those who study another language have improved memory as opposed to those who didn't learn another language. Learning another language also keeps your brain healthy by significantly delaying the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. This difference can be as much as 4 to 5 more years of quality life.
And those are just some of the reasons you should learn another language. The list just goes on and on.
Now you know the benefits of studying another language, but why should you learn German in particular?
Have you heard of Adidas, BMW, or Audi? Well, they all come from Germany.
Knowing German opens many career opportunities. Germany leads scientific research in many fields. In fact, many scientific studies are originally published in German. Some of civilization's most significant inventions, like the bicycle or the printing press, were developed in Germany.
And what about the fact that Germany has the 4th largest economy in the world?
Germany has the largest economy in the European Union. Germany is renowned for its high-quality craftsmanship and engineering. German car makers take up a large percentage of the global automobile market. Volkswagen, Daimler, and BMW alone make up 1/5 of the entire automobile industry worldwide. Knowing the German language can open up business opportunities for you. Understanding their customs and work ethic can go a very long way in the world of business. Oftentimes, it could even make or break an important business deal. So knowing German will put you ahead of the pack.
Germany is also one of the top-ranked tourism destinations in the world. Germany is known for its festive culture, most notably for hosting Oktoberfest, which is a yearly beer festival of epic proportions. It hosts roughly 6 million visitors every year.
Oktoberfest takes place in Bavaria in southern Germany, where many of Germany's pristine castles are located.
In fact, castles like Schloss Neuschwanstein was actually the original model for the iconic Disney castle today. Another spot I really like is the Zugspitze, Germany's highest mountain. Being at the top gives you a great view of the Alps and the German countryside.
In northern Germany, Berlin is of particular interest as this city has a mixture of cultures and ethnic groups as well as historical sites, museums, and street art.
If you love traveling and exploring, learning German is a must, because it allows you to discover much more of Germany than just common tourist spots.
Okay then, we've talked about why you should start learning a new language and why you should start learning German, but how can you get started, Jenny? The good news is that you already know some German.
Kindergarten, Dachshund, Gesundheit.
Not only does German use the same Roman script as English, but there are many loanwords that have made their way into English. According to researchers, roughly 26% of modern English is derived from Germanic roots.
The reverse is also true. Many English words are now used in German too. In fact, 10% of all the words in German are borrowed from English. Outlet, Club, Computer.
This means that you already know about 10% of German vocabulary.
Let's teach you something that you might not know but is very useful. Dankeschön. It means thank you very much in German.
That's a useful phrase, but can you please explain a little more about it?
Sure, the first part, danke, can stand alone. It means thanks. The second part, schön, means pretty. It makes danke more polite. So the phrase Dankeschön essentially means thank you very much.
These two dots here will be unfamiliar to English speakers, but don't worry. We'll talk a little bit about them in the next lesson. For now, just listen and repeat after Jenny.
Dankeschön.
Now you try.
Dankeschön.
Your turn again.
Dankeschön.
One last time.
Dankeschön.
Well done! Now you know how to say thank you very much in German. We've covered a lot of things already, so why don't we wrap up the first lesson and recap on what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that studying another language has many benefits, such as opening up career and business opportunities. Germany has a rich culture with many things to see and learn, and to say thank you very much in German, it's
Dankeschön.
In the next lesson, we're going to take a closer look at German pronunciation by examining the sounds of German, so be sure to watch the next video. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to German. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of German pronunciation. German uses the exact same letters as English. It also uses one extra character and has unique markers which look like two dots appearing over some vowels.
But let's try not to focus and rely on the German letters too much. Let's focus on the sounds. There are a total of 28 consonant sounds and 17 vowel sounds in German. The good news is that most of these sounds are identical to English. A, E, I, O, U.
As you heard, these vowels don't sound that different from English.
One thing to note, though, is that German vowels are pronounced much more clearly than English. We also have more vowel sounds than English. So that's why it's very important that we pronounce them clearly. Unlike English, we try to maintain a constant pitch from start to finish without tapering off. A, E, I, O, U.
Some vowel sounds will be unfamiliar to you.
Some vowels, such as A, O, and U, can have two dots over them. We call these dots Umlaute. They indicate a change in the original pronunciation of the vowel. Compare the following pairs of vowels. A, Ä, O, Ö, U, Ü. The vowels with the two dots over them are essentially a combination between the vowel and the E sound. Sometimes they're represented as AE, OE, or UE.
Now let's take a look at German consonants. Like vowels, German consonants are predominantly similar to English.
B, D, F,
Other consonant sounds, however, may be a little more challenging.
Rost, Rübe, Schmarrn. These are the sounds that you need to focus on perfecting.
Okay, let's move on. Some consonants in German aren't actually pronounced as they look to an English speaker. Let's take a look at some of these letters.
The German V isn't pronounced like an English V, but as an F sound. So both V and F in German are pronounced as an F sound. Vogel, Fett.
The German W, on the other hand, is pronounced like a V sound.
Wasser, Wagen. German is also notorious for its Ich and Ach sounds.
The German CH isn't pronounced like the CH in church.
Ich, Licht, Recht.
It could also be pronounced another way.
Wach, Dach, noch.
The former is pronounced closer to the front of the mouth, while the latter is pronounced at the back of the mouth. Next is the SCH. This one is actually pronounced like the sh in sheet.
Schmal, schnell, Schlaf.
Now that you have gained a better understanding of German sounds, let's take a closer look at some common mistakes and how to fix them. We mentioned before that English speakers do not maintain the pitch of the vowel throughout. This often occurs because English speakers tend to glide on the vowel, needlessly adding a Y sound as they prolong the vowel.
When pronouncing German vowels, try to maintain the same pitch throughout the vowel. Bad, Nebel, Igel, Ohr, U-Boot. Bär, blöd, über.
Another challenging sound is the German guttural R sound.
Rund, Rast.
You want to produce the sound at the back of your throat, as if you're gargling water. Try it.
R, R.
Well done! In this lesson, you were introduced to German pronunciation. You learned that English and German share a lot of similar consonant and vowel sounds. You also learned that German vowels are pronounced evenly throughout. And in this lesson, you were introduced to some unfamiliar German sounds and the common mistakes that learners make. We've covered only the basics of German pronunciation. If you're interested in learning more, check out our entire course titled The Ultimate Guide to German Pronunciation. In that course, we cover and break down every single sound in the German language, showing you mouth and tongue positioning and giving you tips to help you perfect your German pronunciation. In the next lesson, we'll introduce you to the basics of German grammar, where you'll learn about German word order and how to build basic sentences in German. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to German. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of German grammar. Word order refers to the order in which words are structured to form a sentence in a given language. Consider the English sentence, I ate an apple. But first, let's remove the article an here for simplicity, so we're just left with I ate apple. The basic word order for English is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short. If we break down the English sentence, I ate apple, we can see that the subject I is presented first, followed by the verb ate, and then finally the object apple is positioned last. This is the basic word order for sentences in English.
Now let's compare that same sentence, I ate an apple, in German. Ich esse einen Apfel. Like before, let's remove the article to keep it simple, so we're just left with the words. If we break down the German sentence, we get the subject ich, meaning I. Then comes the verb esse, meaning eat. And finally we have the object Apfel, meaning apple. Ich esse Apfel. The basic word order for German then is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short.
As you can see, English and German both have the same word order. This essentially means that you can create basic German sentences by exchanging English words for German words.
This isn't perfect, but it's a good place to get you started. Understanding basic word order will allow you to string together the few German words you've learned to create basic sentences and to start communicating in German.
In the previous section, you learned that English and German both use the same SVO word order. Let's study this aspect in a little more detail. First, let's take a look at an example in English. She sees the boy every day. We can clearly see the SVO word structure used in English, even with the adverb attached at the very end there. But what if we were to try and change the word order of this sentence? Let's swap the object and the subject around. Now we get, the boy sees she every day. As you can see, rearranging the word order of an English sentence actually changes the meaning of the sentence itself.
The word order of German, on the other hand, is much more flexible than English. While German does follow an SVO word order like English, it's much less rigid, allowing us to move elements of the sentence around. Sie sieht den Jungen jeden Tag. Den Jungen sieht sie jeden Tag.
As you can see, swapping the object and the subject around in German doesn't change the core meaning of the sentence itself.
Jeden Tag sieht sie den Jungen. In fact, all parts of the sentence can be rearranged, except the verb. As long as the verb is the second element in the sentence, you can generally rearrange the sentence however you wish.
We've talked about basic sentences in English and German, but what if you wanted to give more detail to a sentence? Consider the following English sentence. I like apples because they taste good. Notice how there are two parts to this sentence. I like apples and because they taste good. We call the first part of this sentence the main clause and the second part of this sentence the dependent clause because it depends on the first part to make sense. If we break down the two parts, we can see that English sticks to the SVO word order once again.
Now, let's compare the same sentence in German. Ich mag Äpfel, weil sie gut schmecken. The main clause has the verb as the second element, so this is fine. The dependent clause, however, has the verb as the final element in the sentence, not as the second element.
So in fact, German sentences will always have the verb as the second element, but if there's a dependent clause, the verb in that clause will always be moved to the final position.
Ich mag Äpfel, weil sie gut schmecken. Negating basic sentences in German is easy compared to English. Simply add nicht, which means not, at the end of a German sentence. Ich schlafe. Ich schlafe nicht.
If you want to show that you have zero sum of something,
you would add kein, which can be translated to no, depending on the sentence. Ich habe kein Geld. Ich habe keine Energie.
This is a simplified way to negate basic sentences in German.
Formulating questions in German is also easy. Simply swap the verb and the subject to make a sentence into a question. Sie ist hier. Ist sie hier? Sie ist Äpfel. Ist sie Äpfel?
Just a quick swap makes this a question. Well done! We've covered a lot of things in this lesson, so let's recap on what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that the same word order as English can be used in German. German word order can be rearranged any which way, so long as the verb is the second element in the sentence. If there are dependent clauses, then the verb in that clause will appear at the end of the sentence. Simply add the word for not at the end of a sentence to make it negative. And to formulate a question, simply swap the subject and verb around. We've covered only the very basics of German grammar. If you're interested in learning more, check out our German in 3 Minutes video series. In that course, we teach you useful phrases while covering the fundamentals of German grammar, and each lesson is only 3 minutes long. In the next lesson, we will introduce you to basics of German writing. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to German. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of German writing. German uses the exact same alphabet as English from A to Z. However, it also uses a special character.
This character is called sharp S or scharfes S in German. It isn't considered a distinct letter in German though. Spaß, Maß. Similarly, some additional markers represented by 2 dots can appear over 3 vowels. We call these Umlaute. Ä, Ö, Ü. The Umlaute are used to signal a vowel combination. They are essentially a combination between the vowel plus the vowel I. Äpfel. Öl. Ü, über.
They can also be represented as AE, OE, and UE. These are common alternatives that are understood by every German speaker.
Sometimes German spelling can be a challenge for English learners. There are a few words that are pronounced the same as English, but are however spelled differently. Let's take a look at some of the most common spelling issues.
German uses the same sh sound as in the English ship. However, it isn't spelled SH, but SCH in German.
Schuh, Schiff.
So whenever you see SCH in German, know that it's pronounced sh. Words beginning with ST or SP are pronounced with the sh sound too, but this only applies to words beginning with ST and SP in German.
Stein, Sport.
Remember, this only applies to words beginning with ST and SP. The letters V, F, and PH are all pronounced as an F sound in German.
Laufen, vergessen, Philosophie.
Even though they're spelled differently, they're all pronounced with the same f sound. Capitalization in German is similar to that of English, but a lot more.
We capitalize at the beginning of each sentence, days of the week, months of the year, names, countries. Almost everything that is capitalized in English is also capitalized in German. One big difference, however, is that German capitalizes all nouns.
Compare the following sentences.
Der Hund und die Katze gingen aus dem Haus heraus, den Weg hinunter bis zur Garage.
The dog and cat went out of the house, down the path to the garage. Dog, cat, house, path, and garage aren't capitalized in English.
But the equivalent words Hund, Katze, Haus, Weg, and Garage are capitalized in German because they're all nouns, and all nouns in German are capitalized.
German also capitalizes verbs that are used as nouns. Compare the following.
Das Zuhören, das Sprechen, das Lesen und das Schreiben sind alle entscheidend beim Lernen.
Listening, speaking, reading, and writing are all important when learning.
Notice how the equivalent words zuhören, sprechen, lesen, schreiben, and lernen are all capitalized. So remember, all nouns in German are capitalized.
There is but one exception to the rule. The word for I isn't capitalized in German.
Schenkt mir Rosen, weil ich sie gerne mag.
He gave me roses because I like them.
Notice how ich isn't capitalized.
All nouns except I are capitalized in German. A special quirk of German is the length of words. German words are, on average, longer than English words due to their tendency of forming compound words. English usually limits compounding to 2 words, such as snowman or baseball.
There's no such limit in German, however. Take the word for speed limit, for example. Höchstgeschwindigkeitsbegrenzung.
If we break it down, we'd get
Höchst meaning highest, Geschwindigkeits meaning speed, and Begrenzung meaning limit. And just for fun, the longest officially approved word in German is Donau-Dampf-Schifffahrts-Elektrizitäten-Hauptbetriebswerk-Bauunternehmer-Beamtengesellschaft.
That's a mouthful. Okay, let's recap what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that German uses the exact same alphabet as English. There are 4 additional characters in use, although they aren't recognized as distinct letters. You also learned that there are some tricky consonant and consonant clusters you need to look out for. You then learned that all nouns except for I are capitalized in German. And finally, there is no limit to how many words you can compound in German. In the next lesson, you'll be entering German Boot Camp, where you'll learn some useful beginner phrases to get you speaking German right away. See you in the next lesson. Bye!
Bye!
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to German. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny.
In this lesson, we'll focus on teaching you the most useful German words and phrases for absolute beginners. Are you ready? Let's get started. The best phrase to learn when studying a new language is one that expresses gratitude and appreciation. If you had to learn only a single phrase, this would be it.
We taught you this phrase in the first lesson of this series. Do you remember what it was? Dankeschön. It means thank you very much.
Keep repeating after Jenny until you get it.
Dankeschön.
Your turn.
Dankeschön. Dankeschön.
Do you remember this character? We talked about it in our pronunciation episode.
Listen to how I pronounce this vowel. Ö. Ö.
It sounds a little bit like the I in girl.
Ö. Dankeschön.
One last time.
Dankeschön.
The next phrase we'll teach you is perhaps the second most useful phrase of all. It's to apologize or to excuse yourself.
Entschuldigung. It means excuse me or I'm sorry. Entschuldigung.
You can say this to grab a person's attention and ask for directions, or to excuse yourself when you bump into a stranger.
Entschuldigung.
Your turn.
Entschuldigung. Entschuldigung.
One last time.
Entschuldigung.
Now you can say thank you and excuse me or I'm sorry in German. Let's move on. Asking where something is an incredibly important and useful phrase to learn.
You're going to need this when asking where the bathroom or train station is.
To ask where something is, simply say,
Wo ist?
And then add the place or location. For example, if you want to ask, where is the bathroom in German, you can say,
Wo ist?
And then add the word for bathroom.
Die Toilette.
Altogether, it's,
Wo ist die Toilette?
Where is the bathroom?
Wo ist die Toilette?
Now you try.
Wo ist die Toilette?
One last time.
Wo ist die Toilette?
The train station is,
Der Bahnhof.
Start with where is,
Wo ist?
And then add train station.
Der Bahnhof.
Altogether, it's,
Wo ist der Bahnhof?
Try saying it yourself.
Wo ist der Bahnhof?
One last time.
Wo ist der Bahnhof?
Try asking where the hotel is. If the hotel in German is,
Das Hotel.
what would where is the hotel be in German? The answer is,
Wo ist das Hotel?
you ask where anything is simply by saying,
Wo ist?
and then adding the place or location.
Wo ist die Toilette? Wo ist der Bahnhof? Wo ist das Hotel? The words die, der, and das roughly translate to the in English. Their usage changes based on the type of noun you're using.
Each noun in German is classified in 3 different ways, as masculine, feminine, or neuter. These classifications are specified in nearly all German dictionaries.
Toilette is inherently a feminine noun in German. For female nouns, we use die. Bahnhof is a masculine noun. We use der for masculine nouns. And hotel is considered a neuter noun. We use das for neuter nouns.
In this final episode, you learned how to say thank you very much, excuse me, I'm sorry, and to ask where something is in German. And in this series, we introduced you to the basics of German pronunciation, grammar, writing, and more. Let's conclude with some parting advice from Jenny and listen to some of her tips on how to learn German from a native German perspective.
The best way to begin learning German is to start with simple words and build up your vocabulary. From there, you can start learning simple phrases and creating basic sentences. Don't concern yourself too much with articles and complex grammar when first starting out. Focus on stringing together words. Your goal is to communicate, and you don't have to be grammatically correct to do that. Learning basic word order and using the vocabulary that you know can get you a very long way. Remember, you can move any words around in German, as long as the verb is the second element in the sentence. Focus on this aspect, and you'll be able to speak German in no time. Lastly, learning German, like any language, requires you to immerse yourself in the language. Exposure to the language is key. One simple thing you can do to immerse yourself is to watch contemporary German videos, like our videos here at GermanPod101.com. This will ensure that you're learning real, applicable German in the fastest way possible.
You've reached the end of this course, Introduction to German, but it's only the beginning of your journey to German fluency. Where do you go from here? Start familiarizing yourself with the sounds of German by checking out our Ultimate German Pronunciation Guide, or check out any of our other video series. We have many different categories for you to choose from. Good luck as you continue learning German, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!
Bye!
Hi, my name is Elisa. Welcome to Top 25 German Phrases. Let's get started. Hallo, hello. Hallo, hello. It's usually used between friends, and usually you add Hallo, wie geht's? It's hello, how are you? Guten Morgen, good morning. Guten Morgen, good morning. And obviously it's used in the very casual would be just morning. Morgen, guten Tag, good afternoon. Guten Tag means good afternoon or good day. You don't usually say it to friends. Guten Tag. Na klar, of course. Na klar means of course. I actually use it a lot. It's very casual. Kannst du mein Auto heute waschen? Na klar. That would be really good. But it means, can you wash my car today? Of course. Who wouldn't want that, right? Wie heißen Sie? What's your name? Wie heißen Sie means what's your name? Wie heißen Sie is a very formal way to say it. Between friends, it would be more wie heißt du? Wie heißen Sie? Ich heiße Alisa. What's your name? My name is Alisa. Ich bin, I am. Ich bin heute gut drauf. I am in a really good mood today. Ich bin im Urlaub. I am on vacation. Wie geht es Ihnen? How are you? Wie geht es Ihnen? And then, mir geht es gut. How are you? I am good. Es freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen. Nice to meet you. Hallo, wie geht's? Es freut mich, Sie kennenzulernen. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you is a very common sentence. Mir geht es gut, danke. Und Ihnen? I'm fine, thanks. And you? Mir geht es gut, danke. Und Ihnen? I'm fine, thanks. And you? It's the answer to if you get asked, wie geht es Ihnen? When you're talking to friends, you can actually say, mir geht es gut, danke. Und dir? Bitte, please. Bitte also means you're welcome. Danke, dass du heute einkaufen warst. Ach, bitte. Thank you for going grocery shopping today. You're welcome. Bis später. See you later. Bis später. See you later. Bis gleich means when you're actually meeting in maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And bis später is used mostly, for example, in the morning, and you're going to meet during the evening. Hallo, sollen wir heute essen gehen? Ja, gerne. Ja, dann bis später. Hello, should we go have something to eat today? Yes, sure. See you later. Ich glaube schon. I think so. Ich glaube schon. I think so. Meinst du, wir können heute was trinken gehen? Ich glaube schon. Yeah, do you think we can go have drinks tonight? I think so. Ich glaube schon is kind of like an uncertain thing to say. Danke. Thank you. Danke. Thank you. Danke is very casual between friends and family. Wie geht es dir heute? Danke, sehr gut. How are you today? Thank you, I am fine. Gern geschehen. You're welcome. Ja, danke, dass du mir beim Umzug geholfen hast. Gern geschehen. Thank you for helping me move. You're welcome. Ja, yes. Ja means yes. And of course, it's a very, very common word in German. You use it all the time when you're listening to someone. Ja, kannst du heute bitte mit dem Hund spazieren gehen? Ja. Can you take the dog for a walk today? Yes. Nein, no. Nein, no. Hast du am Samstag Zeit? Nein, leider nicht. Are you free on Saturday? No, sorry, I'm not. Just saying nein is a little bit rude, so people just add, no, I'm not free. Okay, okay. It's more used with friends and family and not at workplace. When I was a child, I wasn't allowed to say okay, for example. I have to say yes or no. Ja, nein. And of course, okay is also used, for example, wie geht es dir? Or mir geht's okay. And how are you? I'm okay. Kannst du mir vielleicht eine Kamera heute ausleihen? Okay. Could you lend me your camera today? Okay. Entschuldigung. Excuse me. Entschuldigung. Excuse me. Entschuldigung, Sie haben gerade Ihre Schlüssel verloren. Excuse me, you just dropped your keys. So yeah, excuse me and I'm sorry means both. Entschuldigung. It's a very formal way to ask somebody for a favor. Kein Problem. No problem. Kein Problem. No problem. It's a very common sentence. I use it all the time. Kein Problem. Kein Problem. Kein Problem. If somebody's gonna be late or yeah, ich komme erst in 10 Minuten. KP means no problem. Wie viel Uhr ist es? What time is it? Yes, obviously, when you want to know the time, you ask this, and it's used at work. It's neither formal or casual. You can use it with friends. You're in the city and you forgot your watch. Entschuldigen Sie, wie viel Uhr ist es? Excuse me, what time is it? It's a very common phrase and used everywhere. Einen Moment bitte. One moment, please. You bought something and you want to return it. Entschuldigen Sie, ich würde gerne etwas zurückschicken. Einen Moment bitte. Excuse me, I would like to return something. One moment, please. Ich hätte gerne. I would like. Ich hätte gerne einen Salat mit Pommes. I would like a salad with fries. Wait. I would like a water. Wie viel macht das? How much is it? Ich hätte gerne ein Kleid für eine Hochzeit. Wie viel macht das? I would like a dress for a wedding. How much is it? Zahlen bitte. The check, please. Zahlen bitte. The check, please. When you're ordering something and you're finished and you want to pay, you usually say to the waiter or waitress, zahlen bitte. Hilfe, help. Hilfe! Help! Hilfe, like help, is when you're in need of something or you can't do it by yourself. You scream or you say, Hilfe! Ja, ich bräuchte Hilfe heute Abend. I need help tonight. Thank you for watching. Today we did the top 25 German phrases. Don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye. We're done? Cut.
Expand your vocabulary with our core 2,000 words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free German ebook before it's gone.